Greetings and welcome, everyone. It's All You Can Geek Gamecast, episode 524. I'm one of your hosts, Jim Gass, joined by Mike Sneedy.
What's up?
Corey Feinstein.
Yo.
And Tony Korkanakis.
Hey.
Hey, welcome listeners, welcome viewers. 524 of the Gamecast. It has been a insane week with a little certain game that everybody was dying to play. And we're going to get into that in a little bit here. First things first, guys, let's kick it off with what we've been up to. I'll kick us off. I finished up Ghost of Tsushima. So that's all done, closed out.
Are we all done with this game?
I have some.
You do?
To say something. I'm not
it's such a fun. Yeah, okay. Good thing you stopped me.
Yeah, I was like,
such a like, I wouldn't say fun, like beautiful, like ending.
I wouldn't say
visual. Yeah, visual ending, like just so Kurosawa like style. I just loved it so much. Hang on, I'm gonna have to continue mine a little bit. Mike, can you tell what you've been up to?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I gotta go again. Sorry.
All right, no problem. So I actually finished the main story, Judgment, that Yakuza spinoff I was playing.
Nice.
The main story was beefier than I expected. It was, although I did about half of the main side quests and a quarter of the side quests in the game during my campaign run, but that took me like 47 hours.
Wow.
So it was pretty beefy.
Yeah, pretty chunky.
Obviously, there's still a lot to do, and I'm probably going to keep doing it for a little bit here, especially in light of other news. But and so it's pretty good. It's definitely a more serious story. Actually, the main story of all the Yakuza games are pretty serious, but this one is a little more believable, maybe. Yeah, and it's a lot about surprisingly a lot about Alzheimer's, like because it's about a conspiracy around Alzheimer's drug, and Japan's real concerned about like their aging population, and that was like a theme in this game, sort of, and like what a company would do to sort of make sure a drug happens like that could potentially cure it, or could it? Who knows? So it was interesting. I definitely enjoyed the more detective aspects of this game, as you're a private detective who's also a lawyer, kind of, and also able to beat up everyone in the world too, which is his other power. But I don't know if it's better. It's not really better than any of the other Yakuza games, I don't think, except maybe the first Kiwami was a little flat for me. But I'm still glad I'm playing it, and I'll continue with it for a bit. So other than that,
you got a lot more to do too there, bud.
Yeah, no, there's a lot
more
to do.
Games coming.
This is there's a lot to do within this game, but this is one of those games where all the side missions definitely feel a little bit in the back burner compared to the main missions, because like most of the stuff in the side missions aren't even like voiced. But it's all right. It's fun, and these are the more kookier stories that I played the Yakuza games for anyway. So I'll get into it. There's a lack of career like stuff though in this, and a lack of a fighting arena, which are normally in the open worlds of the other Yakuza games, so it's a little disappointing, but whatever. Other than that, I'm done. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Corey?
Well, I've been playing Last of Us 2 a little bit.
Snap. Here we go.
Yep. No, and I've been liking it a lot, actually, for what I've been playing. And it's definitely Last of Us, but it is a gorgeous looking game. Like I talked about how Hades is one of the best looking games I've seen this year. This one is probably right there with it, if not even better looking. It's like you forget how like obviously with the development and all the delays and stuff you expect I should be getting a good game, but it's just like Naughty Dog just really knows how to like utilize the hardware that they were given, and like this game is just unbelievable.
But you mean
visuals.
The PlayStation 4 isn't a completely outdated piece of shit right now?
I mean, some companies know how to utilize it better than others, is all I'm saying. And they do a fantastic job with it. And it is Last of Us, obviously, but they've improved on the mechanics a little bit, made things a little smoother, giving you a little bit more options as far as what you're capable of doing. and what you are doing as well. And as I'm going through the game, like initially it's like because I think we all, like with the trailers, they try to sway you as far as what you think is going to happen and then what actually happens in the beginning. And it's just like there's no way somebody would just go on this murderous rampage throughout this game for someone they like hardly really know. Like it has to be someone much more important, and obviously it is. And so like you're going through, and it was a pretty emotional moment when stuff happens there, and I was like oh wow, this is because going from Last of Us and being a character and now being a different character and getting their perspective, it was interesting. And I do feel like the storytelling in this is one of the better like narrative driven games out there right now as far as gameplay to story to gameplay. And they do a great job with the enemies as far as making them feel threatening. And I enjoy the puzzle of figuring out how to clear rooms or get around certain things, and sometimes just having an action sequence because it's fun to shoot things and run around and craft items and throw them and all that stuff. So it's been really, really good so far, and I'm enjoying it a lot. That's The Last of Us 2.
Any
Maybe-
round sequences?
How many
3
hours would
hours?
you say? 3? Yeah,
Maybe.
interesting. And
Yeah.
but the gameplay is a big improvement, you think, over the last game?
I mean, it feels better than the last one.
Because
Definitely feels
I
better.
mean, to me, like I'm most curious to hear about the gameplay because I have an idea of the story, but I don't really know how much they've fixed the gameplay.
I mean, if you liked Last of Us as far as the gameplay,
Not really.
you're gonna like this one. If like it depends on what you had problems with the first one.
Does it
Like
still
they're
do-
gonna still
or-
the same beats. Yeah.
I
Corey,
found
does it still do humans,
Exploration.
zombies,
Zombies.
humans, zombies, humans, zombies? They never were like together. You remember that? Like there
No,
was always.
I so far it's been mostly the zombies that I've been dealing with because I think the majority of the beginning there are no human fights yet.
Oh, okay. Because I
but
remember,
yeah.
you used to jump. It would go from
No,
like,
yeah,
okay, here's your human section, and then here's your zombie section, and then you go to the next chapter, and here's your human section, or zombie section next. So you know what I mean? Like, but it would definitely they would never coexist. Like you would be
Right,
going
right.
through the same thing. Have you run into that yet?
I think this game does have that, from what I've heard and seen.
So. I'd be interested to find out. I'd be interested to see.
No, I mean, like it depends
As
on
much as
your
I-
perspective because like you do play. I mean, I guess you guys know some of it, and this is gonna be a little bit of spoilers here, but you do play as the villain in this game as well in the beginning. So like,
Is she a villain?
I mean, your villain.
Would you say you're a villain?
Now hold on, don't say anything else to him. He's
Well,
just
I mean,
starting
like-
out with this game.
you play as the character that takes out one of the characters in the first game. So like, as far as the character you play as for the majority of the game, that's
Everybody's their own hero in their story.
exactly. Like Joel is a terrible person. Like, and
Is he?
Ellie is a terrible person. Like these people are going on these murderous rampages. So like everybody's done some terrible shit here.
Yeah.
Like none of these people are
that's the
good
point.
people.
Yeah, that's the. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'll ever get around to be playing it, to be honest. Just because I got spoiled for that, and that's fine with me. I was just like, let me just do this, and then I'll decide if I want to do it. And I'm just like, nah, I'm good. Like, it just.
If you didn't like the gameplay and you already know the story, there's no point in playing the game.
Right. I mean, the gameplay was serviceable, but the thing was, like Jim was just talking about, like, I wanted to see more interesting set
Right.
pieces where it wasn't just. Because literally, that's what it was. It was always exploration and, like, stupid rafting mechanics where you gotta navigate fucking Ellie on this goddamn raft. And then into a human segment and sneaking segment, and then zombie infected segment. And it was just repeat that.
Yeah, and
Yep.
for me in the first game, I enjoyed one of those things. I enjoyed the human fighting section.
Yeah, the human stuff
I-
was really interesting.
I
The AI
found
and stuff.
most of the zombie stuff super tedious, especially the clickers, because it literally is just designed to keep you like slow. Almost, I don't know. I just did not find it fun.
No, I actually really like the zombie side of things here. Like, and in this game, they do a great job too. It's like you feel the tension as the character. You feel like as you're trying to move around, like you are trying to not make noise. You're trying not to like draw attention to yourself.
Right.
And yeah,
No.
I think they do a great job with that. And like,
Yeah.
like I said, the narrative is really well done, woven into the game. And so far, it is just more Last of Us. So it's like the first game. So
yeah. So, all right, Tony, what have you been playing?
I beat Hades.
Nice.
What they consider the ending, I suppose.
Okay.
Which was good. By the end, I was wearing a little thin on the gameplay because again it's the loop, where once you can safely beat the game, you're better, and unless you're severely handicapping yourself or you're switching weapons to like ones you didn't use before, or you're just like, hey, I'm not going to use these boons, which seem to be like, everybody gets into their like, oh, I like this type of boon or this type of whatever, buff and stuff like that. It's just like, all right, I just got to go through this 30-minute sequence again, just to see, a bit more and stuff like that. But fantastic game, great ending, definitely awesome in terms of a narrative, especially out of a roguelike that I wasn't expecting. Would have liked to see a little bit more of anime variety or something. It just felt it was missing, for me personally, just a little something to. Now that I'm done with it, like I'm done with it. I think I'm not going to go back, even though there's a lot of stuff that you can do. I'm just like, nah, you know what? I'm good. That left me coming back for more. But Supergiant, props to them. Absolutely game of the year contender. I believe it's already won a bunch of awards and stuff like that. So
I feel I stand by the fact they got
game of the year.
They got hosed
they
at the
did.
Game Awards, so. I stand by the fact they got hosted at the Game Awards. They should have won more awards, but we'll get into that.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
I just think that I don't know. I'm playing more Hades. I'm not done with that game yet, but it's a very good game. It's definitely game of the year contender without doubt.
I'm a little upset with how much hate some of these like bigger games get. It's like it's just like this whole like mentality.
There's definitely a sort of hipster movement mentality against that.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly a hipster movement, but at the same point, it's the year 2020 now. A studio like Naughty Dog, they're not the darling Sony studio that comes out with just Uncharted for the PlayStation console. It's like, hey, Uncharted and Last of Us, which is critically acclaimed, one of the best-selling games on both the PS3 and PS4. And we'll talk about it in the news. They're a company now that is notorious for the absolute mistreatment of their employees, and I don't think there's any disagreement on this podcast where it almost becomes, is it a joke for you to award a game that literally crunched people's souls and give it game of the year? Like, is that noteworthy? Like, hey, cool. And we've talked about it before from Jason Schreier's interviews, where people at Naughty Dog say part of them wants the game to fail just so that leadership / upper management can take a step back and be like, hey, maybe we're doing things the wrong way and maybe we should change that. But fuck all that when it's going to sell 15 million copies and you're going to get 100 Game of the Year awards from different publications. Like, you're not going to get changed that way. So whatever.
That's why I posted that for. But I don't know. I also played. I started 13 Sentinels as well. Which by the way, I had no idea it was that style of game. Like, I went completely blind. I went completely blind into this game just based on what Tony was talking about, and I didn't know the combat was done the way it was done. I'm like, I'm expecting like a Persona style game or something like that, and I'm just like, wow, I was way off on that.
Nope.
But it's cool. It's interesting. It's definitely anime. You're playing an anime story without a doubt. It's like it is just feels like you're playing an episode. It's just because you're so confused. You're like, what is going on here?
So wait, how many hours would you say you played?
No,
it doesn't matter because it's different.
I'm only in for an hour. Like, I'm only in the
okay, that's fine. Yeah, so that's fine. You know.
I will be able to talk a lot more. Yeah. I'll be able to talk a lot more about it next week because I have a lot more free time this week coming up. So I expect to really go over it. But I do want to did start that at least. So, but all right. Let's move into the news, which would be two things, big things. We mentioned the Game Awards happened, and we'll get into CD Projekt Red shortly. But I think we're going to start with the Game Awards. A lot of announcements, a lot of awards thrown in between. It really felt like that this year. Like, it really felt like the awards were just tossed in.
Yeah, like, I totally get it because the format absolutely had to change this year because of COVID and
and I think that's what hurt that. Yeah.
So it did hurt overall, in my opinion, but I completely understand.
I agree.
And it's better than. I feel like there was one year where like it was really bad with like, hey, and use this promo code to like get 20% off or whatever. That felt like super shilling. Like, they're still shilling this year, obviously, but because they got to pay bills to make the production and stuff like that. But I don't think it was as bad as
I think it was
years ago.
Fine production, and it's almost more of a like show off your games, and we'll throw some awards in here. Like it seems more like that anyway. So it's like it didn't bother me that the awards were kind of pushed all to the background a little bit. And I still think they made a pretty big deal about the game of the year at least, but it didn't bother me at all. The awards, like you're awarding people for their hard work and recognizing games and recognizing developers and stuff. So like that's great. And then now we get all these cool announcements, and although not necessarily a lot of them.
I mean, can we immediately just move into the weirdest award given out, which was was it sound editing? No,
Why
it was
is that weird?
No, it was not sound editing. It was the way that it was presented because of the woman in the window. Best audio design.
God.
Like
it was Naughty Dog, Last of Us. They won sound design or sound engineering, whatever. But the controversial part of it was that there was two employees, a man and a woman. The man was in the office, in front of the screen, and the woman, who was his neighbor, was like standing outside his window. And it makes sense with social distancing.
I know
like
why.
that.
Yeah, I know why.
Yeah,
but it just
but
was
like
meme
when
central.
You couldn't have it reversed, right? You couldn't have had the man out in the window, right?
And that's what it was. Like one of the best memes to come out of social media ever was just like, this accurately sums up the game industry for men and women. And just like,
yep.
Oh God! Like, damn.
Is this a metaphor for the game industry right now?
Yeah, exactly. It's like.
No, I thought it was so awkward. But I understood why they did it. But I'm like, why? She didn't have internet in her house. She couldn't just pop on the call at the same time. Like split screen kind of thing. It just looks so weird for her to be behind him in a window. And like, I think someone zoomed in, like the zoom in blow up and said, I think she's got a gun.
Oh God! It was weird. Like at first, I was like, is that just like a random stranger? Like he doesn't know? And it's like, no. It's like,
just standing there looking.
And she was mic'd up too.
They had it set up. It just was such a weird idea to go with. You know what I mean?
Right.
But,
no, exactly. And it would have just been so much better if it was her in the house and him outside. If it was done that way, nobody would have done anything.
Actually, no, because then it would have been stalkerish. Like they would have had somebody saying, "There's a stalker in your window."
There's a guy behind you.
I think that's better though than being like the woman outside in the cold.
An allegory for what's happening right now in the game industry.
Yeah. But I want to talk about my favorite announcement that was non-award related is the new Smash Brothers character.
Yeah. Off the bat, man.
Yeah. And so like just for context, like the trailer started off with, the heroes losing to the big bad Galeem, or I forget the name of the fucking villain. But it's like all of them are fucking losing. Every single character. And it's like all of a sudden just sliced in half. The whole anime like sliced in half, where it's like, like seriously, I was like, wait, is this fucking Trunks? Like, because that's how Trunks is introduced in Dragon Ball Z. I was like, no, he said he would never do that. And all of a sudden, you just hear Sephiroth's theme playing. I was like, oh my God. Like, it's just him. Like, I was like, wow, I didn't think we'd get another Final Fantasy VII rep just coming back and just like, I don't know. I thought the presentation was done great because Sephiroth just is a fucking iconic villain of just not only Final Fantasy, but like I think of the whole like game industry. He's up there with like, Bowser and Ganon and stuff like that. So seeing Sephiroth, super popular, sure.
Yeah.
That was just really cool to see, and just like the social media reception was just insane. People were like, you had people that like were our age and like, holy shit, like I never thought we'd see this day come and stuff like that. And you had like the younger generation like, wow, who's this guy? He's hot and stuff like that. Just like, okay, like
I never thought I would be attracted to a animated character before.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, all right, there you go. So I thought it was really cool.
Yeah. We'll go through a bit of awards here. We don't have to go through all of the awards. I think it'll be. Let's see. There was the esports stuff. Anything on that you want to go over real quick?
No, not
League of
really.
Legends.
Not really.
Thing, I guess.
Yeah. Best game direction went to Last of Us Part 2. Innovation and accessibility went to Last of Us Part 2.
That game has ridiculous amounts of accessibility options. Holy
that's
shit.
what I've heard.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Like the first thing you do when you boot it up is it's like, how do you want to play this game? Are you colorblind? Are you this? Are you that? Like all these options before you even get into the menu about like how to play how do you want to be able to play the game? And like for one of the things, subtitles, size, color, and like font. It's like ridiculous amount of things that you can do.
Yeah,
it was
great.
crazy.
Yeah. Like that is the thing that my takeaway that the industry should learn from, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Best community support went to Fall Guys.
Fallout Guys.
That little.
Now I want that. I want the Fallout Fall Guys.
The
little buddy things. Yeah,
little Vault Boy, dude.
Vault Boys.
I'm sure we'll get that crossover at some point.
Best mobile game went to Among Us. Best indie game went to Hades. Best fighting game went to MK11 Ultimate.
Lightyear. I don't even know what else was.
It was very, very Lightyear. There was not much at all. Flight Simulator went best sim/strategy, which is big shock there. Best role-playing game, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Not really shocked on that one. We talked about best audio design. Games for Impact. Tell me why. I don't know what that is. Best multiplayer, big shock. Well, actually, it was between Fall Guys and Among Us, I think, right? Among Us won it.
Mm-hmm.
Best narrative went to Last of Us Part 2. Best art direction fittingly went to Ghost of Tsushima, which, like I said, fittingly, that game was just gorgeous.
God. If Last of Us had won that one, I would have been so pissed, because I was like, I've seen videos, and not obviously the whole game, but like, I just don't see how that game compared to like the visual beauty and just splendor of Tsushima.
Yeah,
like that is a game where it's like that is just fun to like just hop on your horse and just explore.
Also, I thought, you know what? I thought about that, by the way. Can we just pause for a second? Because I thought about that during the game when I'm riding the horse, and I'm just like, man, this is totally not Red Dead Redemption 2 and that shit horse simulator I had. This is so much way better on a horse. Like, it's just far better. That's how you do it. That's how you do a horse.
And it also is interesting because I think Last of Us 2 had like way more of a budget and I think power behind their engine.
Yeah,
100%.
So it's interesting because they just used it better, I think, in Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, I mean, I think Last of Us definitely has its advantages and strengths, and probably the individual character animations and the motion capture and stuff like that. And obviously, they got top tier talent for voice acting and stuff like that. But for visual fidelity and just like Tsushima is just beautiful, like absolutely beautiful.
Oh yeah.
So happy I played that game.
Definitely. Best action game went to Hades, which, as we just mentioned, very fitting for that. Best VR was Half-Life Alyx. Not shocked from that. Best sports racing game, which I guess was Lightyear, went to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2.
Interesting. Sports racing game. All right.
I have to say I am shocked about that because like NBA 2K, 21, FIFA, you figure something.
Is it sports/racing game?
Sports/racing. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sports racing.
I could see that then.
Yep. Best ongoing, No Man's Sky. I don't think anybody here could argue that, how much they're still supporting that game. I mean,
I loved when he was Sean Murray when he received the award. Like he was mid drinking a beer and he was like, oh, like put it down.
And he's like, I don't think I'm ever gonna win this.
Yeah, he's like, oh, like Fortnite usually gets it and stuff like that. And then somebody later I saw on Twitter was like, I like when he reacted like this, caught on camera, like mid drinking a beer, because it looked like he 100% did not believe he was going to win it. He's like, yep, can confirm. And it was just like, you know what? I think you did a shiesty deal with the unveiling of the game and the initial pitch, but I hear it's great now, so that's cool, and props to him.
Sorry, I got disconnected, lost internet for a moment. I just want to go back real quick to Among Us and just say, like, those guys watching their acceptance speech and seeing them like tearing up and crying on there.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Like, I was like, all right, you guys like got me there. Like,
yeah.
That was awesome.
Like the thing is, Among Us is one of my favorite games this year. It wasn't released this year, but it was one of the games that I was introduced to this year because obviously the cultural phenomenon. But knowing that it was made by like primarily 3 people. Which is again like super indie and like a side project, and it came out in 2018. It was
designed as a mobile game,
right? Designed first as a mobile game and stuff like that, and for that to explode 2 years later, thanks to unfortunately COVID, / quarantine, and YouTubers and Twitch streamers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But to see them go from like, what is this game to like cultural sensation, like I didn't mention this to you guys, but I went to the local Asian grocery store to pick up some stuff a little while ago, like at the beginning of fall, and the girl that was working there, like she had like her phone, in sideways mode. She was just watching some streamers like stream Among Us, and we just had like a conversation about the game and stuff like that. And it was just like, that's weird. Like, haven't been able to do that since like what I guess Fortnite or something like that. We're just like, hey, like thing that like is super popular right now, like everywhere, and like just recognizable and stuff like that. But yeah, those guys are very passionate about their work and awards. I know there's some controversy that's like, hey, why are you getting awards in 2020 when your game wasn't released? So.
Yeah. What else? Laura Bailey as Abby for Last of Us Part 2, best performance. Getting messages during, I understand everybody's happy, but put your phone on silent, please. Next time.
She wasn't the only one, so.
No, it was also the guy from Last of Us with the audio design. He was getting messages too. I'm just like, oh. Let's see, best debut.
Congrats.
Best debut game was well, I almost said Phasmophobia. Yep. Best family game was Animal Crossing. I think that was hands down out of the list. I mean, Mario Kart Live, I guess, could have gotten it, but best action adventure went to Last of Us Part 2. Best music and score was Final Fantasy VII Remake, and as we said before, Game of the Year went to Last of Us Part 2. So that's your awards.
So here's my criticism here, and it's not of the game. I haven't played it, but I knew the instant that they saved Christopher Nolan to give the Game of the Year award. I knew instantly it was going to Last of Us Part 2. I knew it because I was like, there's no fucking way that they finagled and or paid the amount of money to get Christopher Nolan to show up to a fucking game show awards to just present the fucking award to Animal Crossing or Hades or Doom. There's no fucking way they did that. It was either between Ghost of Tsushima or Last of Us 2, and Last of Us 2 is definitely
or Final Fantasy. I mean, Final Fantasy had a shot.
He wouldn't give it to fucking Final Fantasy either. Are you kidding me? He'd be like, why does this asshole have this huge sword? Why is his hair so spiky? Again, fuck Christopher
How come you can understand when they speak?
Yeah. Fuck Christopher.
That's a classic Chris Nolan thing. All right. Let's go into the reveals now a little bit. We don't have to go through all the reveals. I think the one I would like to talk about would be the Crimson Desert game.
Yeah, that looks so awesome. What is
Holy
this?
Cow. The whole time I'm like, this looks fucking gorgeous. And I'm like I just kept saying,
I don't want to believe it. I just don't want to believe it's real. Because it's one of those things where I'm just super skeptical of anything, but I'm just like,
you can't.
Like, I know that's got to be running on a high-end PC, but holy shit, it looks amazing. It looks amazing. Like, gameplay-wise, it looks fantastic. It looks like everything I want from Assassin's Creed in this game.
Yeah.
So I've got a new, like, most anticipated game. That looks really good for me. Like, I really want that game. So that was a big one for me. Anything like of note for you guys?
Perfect Dark was a big reveal, but I didn't actually love the trailer that much.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say it was shocker. I was surprised that they announced that from their new studio, I believe, right?
Yeah, the initiative.
I mean, I like that it's an announcement, but the trailer itself, I don't know, it didn't really capture the Perfect Dark vibes for me in any way, other than the symbol, I guess the logo for Datadyne or whatever that was.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
what about Tony? Back for Blood.
I was gonna mention
that one. We got to cover that one.
Dude, like that game, like you could tell that whole trailer was made by being like, hey, this is Left 4 Dead, wink, wink, like you know, like back.
It's not Left 4 Dead.
Blood, but it's Left 4 Dead.
I was like, oh man, it would have been nice if they kind of did the
Kills here.
No, because it's got the 4 in it, whatever. But I was thinking they should have just like reversed the Left 4 Dead and been like right to survive or something.
Right for survival. Right to live. Yeah, right to live.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that. I think that we've gameplay and cinematic, right? I think it was a combination.
Yeah,
the alpha is going live, and
I gotta sign up for that. But
that was gameplay. I know there's gameplay in that. So,
that's the thing is like again, I love fucking Left 4 Dead. Like I think it easily made top 10 of my last generation experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just I'm thirsty for that same experience brought to modern consoles, modern platforms, with easier communication methods, crossplay. I mean, I love that game so much. I bought both games on fucking PC and Xbox 360 just so I could play with like different groups of friends. It's like, oh, you guys got on PC, all right, I'll get it there. Oh, you guys got on that 360, all right, I'll get it for there and stuff like that. And I was happy to do it. I paid full retail price for both of those games, $120, and I loved every minute of it. To me, that is the biggest sin that Valve has committed. Like, I understand Half-Life 3, that's not happening, and I understand people are mad about that. But Left 4 Dead 3, that is where, like, because we knew it was in development too. We knew it was in development, and they're like,
it wasn't from this studio though, which is interesting.
Like,
they had a different studio kind of working on this, but
no, but these guys are passionate about this kind of game, so I'm pretty psyched to see what they do with it.
And as long as they don't get like because it was Warner Brothers this time, it's like Evolve got such a bad rep because of the whole pay structure that they did, and
I hope they learned their lesson. Oh god,
because that could have been popular, that could have been good. Like
I mean that PAX East, that was the game to play.
Yeah, and the shoutcasting for that was also there's a lot of fun to watch that game being played, and that could have been a huge game on Twitch or something, but it just the pay structure killed it.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. We had anybody interested in Arc 2 with Vin Diesel?
Some people.
I'm sure some people are. I mean, good for him. I mean, I know he's really passionate about nerdy shit like this, so that good for him. But I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Let's see. There was Odyssey.
I mean, he's got his Fast and Furious game coming, right? That was last year.
Yeah, right. There was Odyssey, Elite Dangerous. There was Fist, Evil Dead, the game.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know what Returnal was. I missed that one, I think.
That was like kind of a horror-esque one.
Yeah.
I think like something like it was interesting looking.
Monster Hunter Rise. Elder Scrolls Online has an expansion.
Was that the Switch one? Monster Hunter
Switch one.
Yes. Let's see what else we have. Teaser for Dragon Age. Crickets.
Didn't actually watch that, but
Callisto Protocol. I don't know what that one was. That was the weird bloody game that we saw a preview for on like the Sony thing, wasn't that it?
I don't think there's anything interesting left to talk about, to be honest. I mean,
no.
Let's just skip to the big ending reveal. The Mass Effect CGI trailer, which
Mass Effect will continue, but the conversation piece about that is the fact that it looks like it's
Liara
and
Liara at the end. Yeah, Liara at the end there. Looks like it. Unconfirmed, but it looks like
it's almost definitely got to be her, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's picking up the N7 patch,
So yeah, I think it's got to be her, and I think that's for me the most exciting part about that, because it shows that they're going to tell that story, whether that Casey Hudson be damned on his ending for 3, they're going to go and tell a story for.
Well, does anybody even remember the ending of 3? Like the
it depends.
The canon ending.
I remember Red, Green, and Blue.
There was no canon ending.
I remember Red, Green, and Blue.
Well, there is now.
That's fine, because I mean all of them were shit. So just pick one.
Pick one, or even redo it in a way, rewrite it. Say that was all bullshit.
Maybe Mass Effect 4 is just going to be like Mass Effect 3 was a dream sequence.
Well, I mean, the ending was literally so bad that people theorized that the last ending sequence was a dream sequence.
Yeah, no, I know.
And they redid
that's
the
how
end
bad it was. Yeah, I couldn't bring myself to get through.
The game was good until that part for most people. I'd say like most people liked it until that moment.
I love the reunion with the characters. I love the gameplay of that game, and then that ending just to funnel you down to those 3 choices to make it not worth anything you've done for me that I've done in that world. Pissed me off.
But basically, so if it's Liara picking up something of Shepard's, then it is actually like Milky Way. Probably sequel.
Yeah. We're not going to get Andromeda here. Andromeda's dead.
Maybe.
Can't render faces. Can't play the game.
It gives you another option for a whole new other civilization to deal with, though. But you could do both. But
you could intertwine them. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe there's better space travel where they can travel further, faster, and just integrate them as well.
Hey, maybe you get to play as a fucking alien. That'd be cool.
Yeah. There you go. So
I don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, why
I
would
don't
you?
know.
It's just a role-playing game. I mean, why would you want to do anything else?
You can play as whoever you want race-wise in this game. How about that?
Well, that's what I was
create your own
talking about.
character.
Like,
Create your own
It's
character,
like,
yes.
hey, cool, you're a human.
Krogan, human. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of the whole charm of that game was being introduced as to other races as a human. Like, that was the idea. Like, 'cause
Yeah, you were learning about those
you
races.
could only sort of relate, like, logically to, like,
No.
you know. So I don't know. I
But
kind of felt like that made sense.
Yeah, but no. But I agree with like Tony's aspect. Like now,
I
because
just think you need
well
less other
established.
characters in the game.
No, but I get your point of like the fish out of water kind of experience. But now it's like it's established. I would love to be able to play as an alien race in this, without a doubt.
Well, if you're not playing as the Liara, then like who are you going to play as if you're going to show that trailer the way you did? So, be interesting.
I don't know. But all right, let's move.
Because I'd hate to be like that.
I do not believe that's an actual title. Some people are thinking that's the title.
Not a title. No, that is not the title. That is a joke.
That's like
the Avengers will return. That's
I was gonna say that's like when the next James Bond will returns. Like, that's not the name of the next film, guys.
Yeah, that do not believe that, please.
Again, I mean, the thing is, like, the thing is, there's just no way. I know we want to move on, but like, real quick, like, there's no way that this game is coming out in the next 4 or 5 years at all. Like, Dragon Age has been shown for like 3 Game Awards now.
No,
CGI,
I mean,
still didn't even get gameplay.
If this game comes out in 3 years, that would be like the worst. Like it would be a terrible game. Like it would be awful.
I mean, they already announced it's in pre-production on the official
pre-production
and stuff like that. Right, pre-production. Like, they didn't even get shit on paper. They probably found out this fucking.
Just a sparkle in their eye right now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, all right, whatever. I'm not gonna feel anything for this. Let's move on.
All right, CD Projekt Red. Last week we talked about Cyberpunk 2077 that came out, and more and more stuff has been happening to the point where we got to talk about it.
It's just funny because last week we talked about how it was buggy. We even have it. Your Game Breaking was the name of our podcast, and that was before we even.
We knew before we really knew,
because that was based on only the PC version.
Yeah,
of reviews, which was the only ones that were allowed to be released at that time.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It is, for those wondering, haven't read, it is unplayable on Xbox One original and PS4 original consoles. Like I was watching the digital.
Yeah, I was sub 20 FPS. Sub 20 fucking FPS.
Yep.
We're N64 boys. We're N64.
It's GoldenEye.
Perfect Dark 8 Sims.
Yeah, it is unplayable, and it is also unbelievable that like just to run somewhat stable, the Pro console and the Xbox One X, and by the way, the Pro console outperforms the Xbox One X in that game, frame rate wise, because for some reason they chose to run it at higher res. But I don't know how do you release the game? Like, I can't even get a question out. Like, how do you release this game?
They felt they could not afford another delay based on all their other delays. The literal death threats they got when they delayed it a month, most recently, and of course, and then yes, they didn't want to miss Christmas.
They're also not helping themselves by releasing a press release on their letterhead stating that they understand people are angry. They're welcome to get refunds for their game, and it's not possible because they can't control that shit.
Yeah, they can't control that. Like, it's just the audacity of this bitch. That's what it is. That's where I'm at right now, where it's like, before I was like really, I wasn't even big into Witcher, but I was like happy that the studio from a foreign, country was doing all that. It was, because you think about game studios and like primarily either American or Japan. Right, independent. Yeah, they started out from fucking pirating and then released their own like super indie game, and it wound up being popular, stuff like that. But anyway, like, the audacity of their apology, where it's like, we're sorry, we really should have paid attention to the performance of the base PlayStation 4 and the base Xbox One. I'm just like,
what you made the console.
You've been working on this fucking version for 7 years. That was the target platform from the very beginning. Why is it so bad? And I'm not just talking about like just the frame rate. You look at some footage, where, like, you look at the graphics of the character models, and it's popping, blurry as shit. I'm like, what are you fucking talking about, dude? Like, this is like imagine like running a game at the lowest graphical settings, and that's what it is. And it's just like, this is disgusting. Like, this is flat out disgusting. And I warned everybody about this last week when I talked to them, that the reviews that were only based off the PC version, that were obviously high-end PCs that all these review companies can afford, because that's what they fucking do. And they wouldn't allow any footage of the base version to go out, which is super suspect, and we find out why now. So, and then to turn around and be like, oh, well, we didn't know, we're really sorry, missed expectations. It's like, no, fuck you. You knew about this shit, and you tried to cover it up, now you're trying to walk it back. Fuck you.
No, it's really shady of them, and I think, like Mike, you had said it best on Discord, like, they've really ruined a lot of their good faith now, haven't they?
There was no company that had more good faith with gamers. I hate it.
Yeah.
But they did. They did. Like, they loved them, and I was a little confused to why. Like, obviously The Witcher 3 was real good and people love it, and they gave some free DLC and really meaty expansions as well with that game, and they were very open and stuff about what they were doing all the time.
In that game too, like maps and soundtracks and stuff too.
So
really good. Yeah.
So they were considered the people's, game company. Of course, like we said, now they're one of the biggest, if not the biggest, but they're one of the biggest third-party developers in the world, and now they're like that now. And this launch alone just ruined all of their goodwill, all of it. It's now people hate them, and kind of for good reason. This was a very deliberate sort of misdirection, and you and again, this is a product of the hype. I think all of the hype for so long, for a full decade, pretty much. Again, they looked at it, and for whatever reason, they pivoted in the last year or whatever to just working on the new gen system version of it, or the PC, like, higher.
Because they had to get it out. At that point, they had to get it out. Like,
sure,
it took too long to make this game. That's what happened.
But I don't understand how they pivot that and still forget
the biggest problem,
the system they were working on for the first
biggest problem,
years.
That's the problem. The biggest problem with Cyberpunk is that it's overcooked. It went too long through the cycle, went through the entire life cycle of a generation, and didn't release. And now you have the next gen coming out, and it's like they overcooked the game. It's way too much for the Xbox and the PS4, the Xbox One and PS4. It's just way too much of a game.
That sounds almost like a cop-out, though.
How do you fix it? You can't fix it. You can't fix that. It's too big. It's too.
I don't think that's true, though. There shouldn't.
Smaller than Witcher.
I mean, the physics
true.
It is, but it's more dense. But
what's going on in the game?
Because we know, I know that, like, in 4 months or something, it's going to be stable on these old systems. They just didn't do it.
Yeah,
it's not going to look the same. It's not going to look the same. I know that.
Yeah.
But like I said, like, if the game was 1080p, 30 frames per second on base consoles,
people would be fine.
That'd be fine as long as it worked.
Yes.
Even Jason Schreier, with the trees, like the fucking little trees, like.
How about the digital fountain video where the guy's like, I sat here and I thought the game froze. It was like over a couple minutes where I was going back and forth to the menu to see the game froze, and it kept working, and then suddenly it finally loaded the area. Like, it just his car driving through the city paused mid-turn, and it sat for like minutes while the rest of the
I mean, right. So there's and I'm sorry, I know Corey, you want to go real, but like what I will say is, like, it's clear that this was just a rush job. They absolutely needed to delay this, and again, just more time, and they can optimize that for even the base consoles. I mean, again, like, we take a look at, like, they got fucking, not CD Projekt Red, but the one studio that did The Witcher 3 on fucking Switch. Like, they did that compression magic, like, and it ran. Mm-hmm. It's not going to run great, but you can play it on a fucking portable, and it's,
you could run these they're not running down 720p yet. They're at, like, 900 or something like that. So
whatever. So it's clearly just an issue with they didn't want to either. They either couldn't or didn't want to spend the time optimizing it for the base versions. And like Mike said, at some point they just targeted, high-end PC users. Because honestly, I think that is what they embraced post Witcher 3. It was like, we want the gamer, whatever. Where it's like, oh, cool, like, we want to be like known as the high-end
master race.
Yeah, PC master race. Like, all that transphobia shit aside, all this bad publicity aside, it's like they just wanted to be like, hey, like we're friends. Like we want to sell you this game, but we're friends too. Like, aren't we cool? Like this game, no DLC, map included, instruction booklet included. Aren't we cool? Yeah, we're cool. It's like, yeah, buddy, you're selling me a product.
And it's funny though because there's no first party like Series X game. There's no first party Sony exclusive that demonstrate the difference between generations. This doesn't. This is it. This is it though, and it's not intentional. It's a game that's supposed to be for the previous generation. It's the first game that makes me think it's like, oh, do I need a PlayStation 5?
Yeah.
And it's stupid. It shouldn't be that way.
I know. No, you're exactly right because here's the thing. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, and even still, remember the last week, the high-end stuff is still kind of buggy.
Yeah, kind of buggy
as hell anyway. But
oh yeah, forget about that stuff. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about the previous gen here.
And I'm sorry, Corey, what did you want to?
No, I was just gonna say I think that they overpromised and they couldn't deliver on these promises, and they knew that they couldn't deliver on it, so they were just scrambling as much as possible to put as much as in there as they could, and then it just with this type of game, we know the bugs just like fix a bug, create 10 more bugs, and they just didn't do the quality control / testing that they needed to do, and that's how you go gold, and then you delay a game after going gold.
So 3 times.
Like, do you honestly think that they're going to patch enough of this previous gen stuff by February, like they said? I just don't see how that's going to get fixed.
There's no way. But like again, like they Molyneux'd this, and this is like this game is going to be like this crazy. Like, you're going to do everything in this game, and then they couldn't deliver it. And they were just so afraid that they couldn't deliver, so they're just trying to throw it in. It's like, all right, that's good enough. Let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, the most starking thing was I saw somebody on Twitter did this side-by-side afterward comparison of like what Cyberpunk was advertised via like E3 trailer. Like you got the badass Keanu Reeves, like super HD, super detailed stuff like that, like. All these like whatever ray tracing bullshit, lights, all this effects going on, and it's playing the Jurassic Park music. It's all excited, and then they show it running on like a base console or whatever lower end PC and stuff like that, and it plays the Jurassic Park theme music where it's just like janky.
The kazoo.
Yeah, the kazoo is like this is fucking like people wanted to rage about like the Spider-Man Puddlegate whatever thing. Or even back to like the Watch Dogs 1 controversy, because remember I talked about that at the time. But like this has to be the biggest graphical like bait and switch.
Just giving you a funny story about that is I went onto Twitter to kind of just start when this started trending. I was like, oh, let me click on this trending Cyberpunk topic. So I clicked on it and I saw like somebody made a comment about like these are the graphics of like and so I saw the screenshot of it and I'm like. Is he like what game is that from? Is he like making a joke about this? And then I realized like that is the game that he's posting from. I'm like, that's Cyberpunk. I'm like, no, that's a PS2 game that he's posting right now. It looks really bad. Like it really looks such low texture and low res. I mean, it's just like it looks like something running at 640 by 480 on a computer. It really does.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy, and it's funny because if you're a console player, the best way to play it is on a next-gen console, which are hard to get, and it's not even really that optimized for that. It's backwards compatible.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
What's interesting is it's almost like the PS4 and Xbox One version of the game expects those systems to be stronger than they are, because that's the best way to play it, apparently. So it's like the horsepower of a stronger system, but that's still the previous system. I don't understand.
Would it have made sense for them to? No, you can't because you're backwards compatible. Never mind. I was gonna say would it make sense to delay the Xbox One X and PS4 versions of the game, but I'm like the Xbox One is backwards compatible. You're right. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that would be it'd be a full delay then.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just disappointing because like my personal stance is as of last week, before, like while we were recording, your bug, whatever.
Yeah, the bug stuff. Yeah, yeah.
The whatever the title of. But like I went from like, what, I'll probably just wait like a good 6 months and play this, and maybe hopefully I'll get like PlayStation 5 by then, and play it with when like that second patch or whatever is going to go out. To just what, I can't support like personally, I just cannot support like the bait and like I got a copy from Target for like less than $40 because of like the buy two get one plus red card discount. And I can't even, like, I can't in good faith just keep that and just be like, yeah, I supported this shit. Because it's just like, no, you know what? Fuck them. Like, they're selling like 8 to 10 million copies already, but like, you know what? I can't give them my money for me to just look at this and wait.
They already recouped their
Oh
development
yeah, development costs on day one. But it's just, for me as a consumer, like, I can't support that shit. So
yeah, and the whole other controversy of like Sony not giving refunds for it. It's like, hey, just wait till the patch, guys.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing. They're like, please just, open tickets with Sony and Microsoft. So now all these fucking Sony and Microsoft employees are like, dude, what the fuck? Like,
you can't do that. Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable. They don't have the authority.
I do think Sony was accepting refunds.
They were, but it's not every single case, and they're not, and you're not guaranteed to get that. Like according to their press release.
Plus, what if you have a retail disc? So like, and then at the bottom of the press release, and we're like, if you're having problems, please contact us. What are you gonna do? You gonna send me a fucking check? You gonna PayPal me? You gonna send me some Bitcoin? What the fuck are you gonna do, CD Projekt Red? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Maybe they will.
No, I mean, for me, this completely soured me on this game. I don't have any interest. I was holding out to try to play this on Game of the Year, but it will not be played or in consideration for my Game of the Year. I can guarantee you that. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna play it next year, but.
Yeah.
So I mean, this was my most anticipated game of this year, and it's still probably going to find its way to me in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm going to play it right away now. I might play something else first, give it another month or two to make it playable. I know I have a Pro, so it's playable, but it'll be bad. Is my understanding of how it would be at this point. But
you have the best frame rate. You have the best frame rate for the previous. You actually get 30 frames. It doesn't look as great. Like the Xbox One X has a higher resolution, but it doesn't have as stable as a frame rate as a PS4 Pro. So
I mean, I'm not sure.
Both of them look. They're both serviceable, honestly. You'll be okay, I think.
But basically, it's just because I still might even wait weeks, months, whatever for patches. It's definitely pushed itself out of this year conversation. I can't do this. I can't wait till the end of January or February. And
it's a broken game. The game doesn't even really exist at this point.
It should have been delayed till March. It really should have been delayed till March to see if they could have gotten any more. But
problem is they could have kept delaying it. The game would have released the same way. I don't see.
Yeah, but and that's
even if they
So that's the thing, Corey, and I'm glad you brought that up because this is what I wanted to touch upon back with my little rant about Last of Us Part 2. And while Naughty Dog obviously has its crunch issues and development, studio notoriety and whatever, but I just believe CD Projekt Red, and to like Mike's point about them being like one of the most beloved gaming companies that wasn't like AAA, or EA or something like that. Like they probably grew too fast, too quickly from the success of like Witcher 1, Witcher 2. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Flew too close to the sun, where it's like, holy shit, Witcher 3, we're big time now, boys. We're giants. We could stand toe-to-toe with EA. We can stand toe-to-toe with Ubisoft. We can stand toe-to-toe with Sony's games, like whatever. We're fucking Witcher 3, motherfuckers. And it's like, all right, bro, like cool, that's one game. And then now it's like Cyberpunk, like fucking we're all in on this shit. And they just didn't know how to manage a game of this scope and this size. And I guarantee you there was scope creep on this fucking game.
Oh, yeah.
And they just didn't know how to pull it all together. Because you go back to Jason Schreier's
develop
book.
A game for 7 years and not have
right. You don't have right. But you go back to Jason Schreier's book where he talks about like any game like from even Blizzard, like with Diablo 3, with Destiny from Bungie, with Last of Us 1 with Naughty Dog. Like all these companies just somehow it coalesced at the very end. Like there's just like it just fucking came together. And with Cyberpunk 2077, it's just one of those times where it did not come together. Like it just was like anytime they're like, hey, this year guys, we're good. Like it is like
no, I fully believe this game could have been delayed a year and it still didn't release.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Like I fully agree with you that their managers, their leadership, like given more time, they'd just be in this road again. Exactly. So in some way I can understand.
I do think, again, one of the biggest problems was we've known about this game for way too long. They announced it way too long. They felt pressure for like the last 5 years pretty much to release this thing. Until, again, they got to the point where they got a late delay and they got death threats, which, it just happens. It's not good. And so they shoved it out there with like zero quality control, pretty much for like half of their installments.
Yeah, I wonder about like just the game tester side of this thing. Like
Zero. It's got to be zero.
Like they just skipped that phase. Is that what happened? They just skipped it. They had to have done it.
It can't literally be zero.
Yeah,
they knew it about it enough to hide it. But
yeah. I don't know. I'm just so, like I said, this was a game that I was trying to finish games up to go to play, and now I'm like, well, I've got some
cleared off
spare
your
time.
list. But
coming in.
I hope this game is finally what helps to break that hype cycle that Mike was talking about, because honestly, and I've talked about this before, especially when E3 was like at its like final years of super popularity and notoriety, like the hype cycle that the video game industry was based on is just not sustainable. It's not sustainable in the day of like AAA development games where you require 100, 200, 300, 400 plus people working 5 years to make a game. Like it's just not sustainable. And for them to be like, hey guys, get hyped for this. And like I've been critical of like Final Fantasy VII Remake. I've been critical of like Metroid Prime 4. All this shit, because like it's just you announce a game too soon, and you just build up these expectations that will never be met.
They basically missed a generation.
Yeah.
A whole generation, and not a short one either. They basically missed it. So, I really wish games would be announced maybe within the year that they would come out.
Well, that's what they're finally, these companies I think are finally realizing, because like again, like Nintendo started that when they're like, hey, we're only going to release games that are going to be like, we're only going to show you games that we're releasing like pretty much this year. And again, one of the exceptions was that Metroid Prime 4, and that bit them in the ass because they restarted development. But Ubisoft, they got bid on. Jim, what's the game? The game we haven't bet on, Beyond Good and Evil.
Beyond Good and Evil.
Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Yes.
Like it's still like who's going to win this bet? This 5-year long bet that we have, or whatever, however long it's been. Like that.
Still going.
It's still going. Square, they got burnt on the Final Fantasy VII remake because that was announced at the beginning of this generation. The beginning of this generation, 15, and it came out the last year. Yeah, Final Fantasy 15. Yeah, versus. So it's just, I think these companies are finally been like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't just shut the fuck up until we're like close to the release date and then show you the game, and then you can get hyped, because it's easier to stay in that 6-month, 1-year hype cycle.
I mean, it's almost understandable to bend that a little with sequels.
Yeah.
But this was a new freaking game.
New IP.
New IP for gaming. And it just, we've heard about it for a better part of a decade. And it comes finally, and it's just
a wet fart.
It's just a mess, man.
Yeah. Such a letdown. So, all right. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Gamecast. You can write us allygeek@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe and the like button. Leave a comment for us, too, on this mess. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Maybe more bugs. All right.